Yeah.
Hello all, welcome to this webinar on freelancing. We are, we first of all hope all of you all are doing well and maintaining social distance. It's even more crucial now with the lockdown restrictions being eased in most parts of the country. Our topic for today is freelancing, career paths in the new normal. So let's start by introducing our stellar panelists. We have Mr. Santosh Kurup, who is the Chief Executive Officer of ICT Academy of Kerala. He heads the social enterprise ICT Academy that is mandated to provide employability skills to technology and science institutions in Kerala. Before joining ICT Academy, Mr. Kurup was the branch head for TCS, managing over 4,000 employees in Kochi. He was also a member of the Strategic Initiatives Group under the CEO's office in TCS. He has over 17 years of experience in the ICT industry and has performed multiple roles in India and abroad across Australia, UK, and the USA. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mitra. It's a pleasure.
Our next panelist is Deepa Narayan Swamy. Deepa has an interesting career trajectory. She started off as a chartered accountant with ITC. She then completed her MBA from IIM Bangalore and moved on to be a management consultant with KPMG. Deepa had a short stint with Aptech, and after this eventful stint in the corporate world, she's now the co-founder of Flexibees, a startup that provides flexible work options to women by placing them with clients on a part-time or project basis. Deepa is joining us from Singapore today. She and her co-founders were batchmates at IIM, and they've been 3 years into this entrepreneurial journey and have a vision to change the way work is done in this world. Thank you, Deepa, for joining us.
Thank you, Pavitra. Pleasure.
Our next panelist is a very eminent speaker in the space of talent acquisition, Mr. Gopal Iyer, who is the Associate Director of EY Global Delivery Services. Gopal is a seasoned talent leader with over 17 years of experience working with large MNCs across various industries and geographies. He now leads the Gig Now program at EY that has a specific focus on attracting and engaging with people for gig assignments. He's a speaker in various HR forums and has covered subjects like the future skills in the world of HR, the future of work, the rise of the gig economy, and how the business and talent landscape would change by 2025. Something very, very relevant to us now, 5 years back in 2020. He's a global human resource professional, certified career transitions coach, and a certified executive coach. Coming to me, I'm Pavitra, a senior fellow with Kerala Startup Mission. Prior to joining KSUM, I have been in the banking and finance world with almost 13 years of experience. My last assignment was with HDFC Bank as Assistant Vice President in retail banking. Thank you all for joining us today. So the economic slowdown of the last couple of years has been further compounded by COVID-19. COVID-19 has been a major disruptor the world over, with businesses small and large coming under serious pressure. It's had a butterfly effect with low demand leading to low production across manufacturing units, hence low demand for oil, hence a worrying economic situation in the Gulf countries, and so on. So these events have brought in uncertainty in the workforce, but they can also prove to be a catalyst for more holistic career paths which allow skilled resources to earn without having to compromise on their personal life. So our objective today is to demystify the concept of freelancing and familiarize our audience with the various factors that go into making freelancing a viable career option. So let me start by defining who are freelancers. Okay, so freelancers are basically workers who do not work for one particular employer. Okay, they're part of the gig economy and are also known as the shared workforce. So you can call them freelancers, call them independent professionals, temporary contract workers, contract workers, independent contractors, consultants, whatever. Okay, so basically a contingent workforce. They work for an organization or people on a non-permanent basis, on a demand basis. So once the project is over, they are done. They are no longer engaged with the contracting party. Okay. So what is the gig economy that I just referred to? The gig economy is an environment in which temporary positions are common and organizations contract with independent workers for short-term assignments. Okay, there are a couple of slides I'd like to share with you now. Is this visible? Okay, I hope this is visible.
Not yet, actually.
Is this better?
We can see that yet, Pavitra.
Okay. So we have various professional services. Okay, it's across information technology, web development, mobile app development, graphics, artwork, accounting and finance, taxation, audit, content writing. In fact, we at KSUM had an intense workshop, a whole program around content writing, creating content for B2B in the B2B space. Mobile.
Hello, Pavitra. Sorry to interfere you. Actually, your slide is not visible.
It's not visible.
Yes. Can you please share it again?
Sorry.
Choose that entire screen option. Yes, now it's working. Yes, it's visible
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Please put it in presentation mode.
Okay.
Okay, it's working fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I mentioned, we have information technology, mobile app development, content writing, accounting and finance. The world over, freelancing has become a very viable work option. It's surprising to know that even countries like Philippines, Bangladesh, Romania also have a significant freelancing work population. Primarily, freelancing is driven by the easy availability of internet and
Hello, excuse me, Pavitra, sorry.
yes.
Now the slide is not visible. Can you please try it again? And please switch off your video. I think your internet is not stable.
Okay.
So
So I'll
please,
do one thing.
yes.
Okay, I'm done with the slides, so let's get on with the rest of the panel discussion. I'd like to bring in our panelists now, Mr. Santosh Kurup and Deepa. Why does freelancing make sense for our for resources? As an employee, as a person who's qualified, why would I choose to be a freelancer, and what are the advantages? Mr. Santosh Kurup, please.
Yeah, firstly, Pavitra, I wanted to thank you for giving me an opportunity to connect on this very, very interesting subject, and especially with the crisis that is out there looming out without any know-how as to when this will end. Newer ways of managing workforce, newer business models are emerging. Same with the people's perspectives of working itself, because I think if it was in another occasion, perhaps this should have happened in a physical environment. Now, because of this, I think most of us are working from homes or working remotely, and the norm has completely changed. So I think people are starting to talk about the new normal, which is very different from the previous normal. So that way, in the new normal, I think new ways of doing business, new ways of working has to be evolved. And in that context, I think you guys have picked a very, very apt topic about this particular initiative of gig economy or freelancing that you've highlighted. I'm sure Deepa will add more. Just to give you a perspective, I have a small background slide. Let me just see whether I can present that to you. If you're able to see it, well and good. Otherwise, I can talk through, not an issue. Okay, just give me a second. You're able to see my screen?
We can see something.
Yes, Mr. Santosh, it's visible.
Yeah.
Yes, now
So
we
to the question of why freelancing makes sense for talented resources, I just put four items there. First and foremost, I think even without a doubt, we can say, at least I have worked in corporate world for around 17 years, and the last 6 years into this particular skill development, etc. It doesn't. It is not rocket science that regular jobs need not always be very challenging, right? You will get challenging tasks many a times, but there are times when you are low, when you are required to do a lot of monotonous jobs. So an option to just try out something which is interesting outside of your existing work is something which is very interesting. In fact, some of the small and medium companies do allow people to go out and do such jobs. They call it as moonlighting. So during the day they have their regular jobs, and in the evening sometimes they spare a couple of hours doing something which is interesting for them, through which they may be supporting another business, or it could be for social cause, or it could be for something else, right? So regular jobs combined with such small time part-time jobs can make a lot of differences. In fact, it applies to even students. So apart from studies, if they are able to make it to this kind of a scenario, then they can always earn something while they learn. So that's perhaps one reason why it makes sense for a lot of talented resources. Now, secondly, which is what is going to happen now, which has already started, is the fact that companies are cutting costs. And while there is a very sensitive issue about job losses, a lot of companies are adopting to keep their people, but they may not be able to provide them with full-time jobs. So their salaries are coming down, and they're asked to work only lesser number of hours or lesser number of days compared to what it used to be before. So in which case, to balance the financials of a regular employment, there could be an opportunity for you to work outside of it. The next one is going to be another unfortunate thing that is the result of the global economic meltdown that we are facing, is the fact that companies are struggling for businesses. And obviously, the regular jobs will become more and more shrunken. And added to that is the fourth industrial revolution that has picked up even before the scenario, where a lot of automation and a lot of augmentation using technology has happened, because of which the low value jobs are getting taken away by machines. So only the medium to high value jobs were available for humans. So combining that with the current scenario, I think jobs are going to be less, and youngsters may find it extremely difficult to get into the job market. And companies will also struggle to open up new job opportunities for these talented resources. However, companies will definitely have opportunities for providing part-time jobs. So the pre-COVID scenario, companies have predicted by 2030 you will have around 60 to 70% of the jobs available in freelance mode itself, so that you don't need to have a regular job, but you will still be busy. You can work for, say, 15 days in a month and then take a break and refresh yourself, do something that you like, then come back and do the job. So that kind of a culture was anyway planned, and that may get accelerated with the post-COVID scenario. So that could become another reason why it makes a lot of sense for people. And finally, I think this is perhaps very, very important. A lot of people, I'm sure Deepa will, I put this as the last item so that Deepa could perhaps augment it from there, is the fact that a lot of people, especially women, have much more difficult scenarios for work-life balances. So freelancing would become an extremely dignified career option for a lot of women especially in our country or other third world countries, so that they can balance their life, their family, children, etc., along with a very dignified way of earning and self-respect, and also at the same time refreshing their own professional skills that they have achieved. So I would say these are the four things that to me make sense for a lot of resources why freelancing should be an option for them.
Agree, sir. In fact, I was talking to an ex-colleague a couple of days back who lost his father to cancer. And in the terminal stages, my friend was in Bangalore and his father was in Delhi. And there was no other option. He said he had to either quit or he had to go on leave without pay, or he had to literally go absconding, and then the company was refusing to let him go at short notice. So he said, if this option was available to him, it would have been a win-win situation to the organization and to him. On that note, over to you, Deepa. You've had a lot of experience in this space, so let's have your perspective.
Thank you, Pavitra. Thank you, Santosh sir, for giving a great beginning to this. And taking from your example itself, Pavitra, this is actually all about why we started Flexibees in the first place, to offer a choice to those who are extremely talented and qualified, to unlock their potential through flexibility, right? So in fact, even pre-COVID, we have been a 100% remote company, and we have stood for flexibility since our inception about 3 years ago. And women seem to be needing the flexibility more because of certain reasons. The way the society is structured, there's a certain gender role that is expected. So until that gets corrected, this is one way to correct for this imbalance. So it shouldn't be a binary, like either or no. So there are many people, extremely talented people, who can't do the 9 to 9 thing, right? Which has been the norm of the workday so far. And with COVID, of course, though it's extremely unfortunate, the world has understood that work can be done beyond the boundaries of distance, as well as beyond the boundaries of time. So, in fact, I will just want to show some of the kinds of roles we we believe and we have experienced that it's possible. Are you able to see my screen?
We can see it. It would be better if you make it full screen, Deepa.
I'll do that. Yeah, is it better now?
Much
Okay,
better.
great.
Perfect.
So the work can be done from any place. It can be done at a flexible work timing. So all this the world has already understood today. But this is what we started out as our vision, in order to enable those who don't have a choice to have the choice of working meaningfully, right? What we realized is that flexible working can be done across all jobs. So there are traditionally freelance or gig kind of jobs like content writing, graphic design, which have been in existence for a while now. But what we have also understood through our experiences, like even traditional roles that are set to be done in an office environment can also be done and are being done effectively. Like sales, we have a large number of people working on sales assignments, marketing, finance, accounting, content writing, design. So there is a like Santosh sir rightly mentioned, a huge dignity which comes because of contributing, right, your skills to the world in a very meaningful way. So imagine if that choice is not provided to a person who is raring to go, who has that hunger to work. It is it's extremely sad. So a huge advantage comes because of this flexibility to the talent in terms of self-esteem and contributing to society, and of course financial independence, which again feeds back into the self-esteem, and a work-life integration. There are also certain segments, like even the traditional gig spaces, like graphic or content. While they have always been working right on a freelance kind of way, the variety gives them a lot of kick. So there's a huge amount of huge advantage that comes to talent because of working flexibly, and this kind of spills over to other aspects like the family. So you can role model, right? You can teach your children. It's not binary. You don't have to give up your dreams. You can actually live your dream as well as do whatever you want to do for your family. And of course, family always, there's a benefit from having that economic contribution as well. I'm sure Gopal will be touching upon next, the benefits of having a flexible workforce. And we have seen how the world has benefited in some way because of reduced carbon footprint. And it's a huge thing to correct for this gender imbalance which exists in society today. And we will only benefit by correcting these imbalances and bringing a lot of potential talent through flexibility.
Thanks, Deepa. Both Santosh sir and Deepa have covered why freelancing makes sense for talented resources. Gopal, I'd like to bring you in at this point, and can you tell us how freelancing works for the corporate world? Why is it an advantage for the corporate world to engage freelancers?
Sure. So I think all great points, and thank you everyone. Thank you KCM for providing me with this opportunity, and I hope all our participants today listening are all safe wherever they are. Um, so freelancing is not something that started now, and it's not something that is a result of COVID. I think it's been there after every potential major shift that the world has seen, especially in India. If you were to talk about 1991, when we opened up our doors to globalization, be it 2000 when we had Y2K crisis, 2008 when we have the subprime crisis, and even now after every crisis, I think the world of freelancing just opens up, and the reason for that is I think the availability of talent as a result of major demand supply shifts, right? Why are the organizations today looking at uh, better staffing propositions? It's because I think there is an extreme amount of uncertainty in demands. Talk about 2008 or even Y2K, I think the organizations were planning or betting too much on the entire computerization or the internet bubble, and it just bursted. And I think whatever investments were made by organizations then, whatever hiring that they had made then, probably had to be re-looked at. And I think 2008 was no different. 2020 is no different again. It's the behavior of a individual that at the end of the day has a cascading effect on everything that we end up consuming or not consuming, right? As an individual, what did we do in the last 70 days? What did we do in the last 100 days? I think we were all locked down. We were all staying at home. We were not consuming as we should have consumed in an ideal world. That resulted into a lot of organizations really literally going on standstill. And when they were all on standstill, they were spending far too much than how much they were earning at the end of the day. And when you have that situation where your cash outflow is much higher than inflows, I think you would have a scenario where you have to let go of people. And when you let go of people, I think there is on one side abundance of supply of talent that's made available, and on the other hand, for organizations, it becomes a situation whether should they go back to the same old style of doing business, because the individual behavior is that much uncertain, right? I mean, I think we all now want, and if I'll use a cricket analogy here, I think we consume 2020 matches far more higher and much more today than traditional test matches. And why is that? I think it's because of the fact that it gets done in a matter of 6 hours. Similarly, be it an Android or an iPhone, we expect the upgrades every 2 to 3 months, and I think that's the behavior that we got to keep in mind when we are talking about ourselves, and then add that, consolidate that into an organizational demand supply. So what products do we design? How much should we plan for? Can we plan for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, when we're not certain about a pandemic that just kind of shook us all in the last 100 years? So when you think about employees, I think both Santosh sir and Deepak gave phenomenal insights into why people should move into freelancing, and I think there is a lot more merit in doing that right now, given where we are, and I think the time is extremely uh, prime for all of us to think about that as an attractive career proposition. But from an organizational standpoint, it's exactly the cash flow situation. Do I have predictability beyond 6 months today? Probably not. Do I have enough insights into what's going to happen with vaccine, where the COVID is going to take us to? Would the demands come back? I'm thinking about an automobile industry today in India, like the cars that are getting rolled out in the market. Are there takers today? Are there takers as it was in 2020 January or February? And I think as we think about those elements, it makes more sense for us to relate to why we are facing what we are facing. And when we know as an organization that this is what my cash flow situation is going to be, I need to get smarter as an organization to look at what are other options that are available for me to look at bringing in on the talent and give the same experience that I would give to an FTE or a full timer. But I just have that predictability for the next 6 months alone. If things go well, if all goes well, maybe I may look at uh, converting this individual, or I will have a hybrid model. And I think talk to any organization in the industry today, they will all be talking about hybrid staffing models. And I think the reason for that is that's the new model that we are trying to all build in terms of the uncertainty that exists. And I think that will evolve over a period of time to a lot more number of freelancers being part of the mainstream organizational roles.
Gopal, could you elaborate a little bit on the hybrid model that you were referring to?
So think about this. In the past, if I were to have a particular role in an organization, I would have a 5-year roadmap for this role, right? I mean, I would say, okay, this person comes in for the year 1, he will do this. Year 2, he will do this. Year 3, he will do this. Year 4, maybe he picks up another role or grows, becomes, gets promoted, and so on, right? As the business models have evolved, as we have ourselves transitioned from test matches to T20, do I have that 3 to 5 year roadmap? Probably at a macro level, yes, but at a function level, at a sub-function level, do I have that roadmap for the next 3 5 years? Um, Really strong organizations may have that, and they may continue to look at full timers as a proposition. But think about startups. They really need to find a way to keep their burn rate lower, and they need to ensure that they don't invest too much into themselves than they would want to invest on their products and walk out with a solution in the next 6 months or a year. And when you look at the large organizations and the smaller organization and medium organization, who's suffering the most today? It's the startup and the MSMEs. And when you look at their staffing models, they always already, with the Startup India initiative that we would have seen, were on more of a light employment model. They were all looking at contractors and say. So, as if you would see the predictability quotient being a little hazy for the next 6 months, the organization will shift towards hybrid model where they would say, okay, I have predictability only for the next 6 months. I would hire this person for 6 months and see how it goes. If my business improves, I'll maybe transition into doing something different. But as they start getting used to it, and as people start getting used to the pluses of freelancing, as Deepa and Santosh sir both spoke about, I think it will be a good, healthy model that will work well for employers as well as work well for employees as well. So I think that's where we would end up as an industry in the next 6 to 18 months. Is my personal view. I think it's for us to really see through the next 6 to 18 months. Pavitra, you're on mute.
Okay, it's interesting that you said that it's the startups that have a major impact. But I've been talking to HR managers in large firms like Boeing, like Tata Motors, HDFC Bank, Reliance. All of them are echoing the same thing. So what I sense is that there's a huge, there is demand for talent, but no one knows for how long. Like you mentioned, like Gopal said, is it going to be a 3-year roadmap? What happens then? And especially now in the time of the COVID lockdown situation when demand is low. So that brings me to the next point of what are the skills that a freelancer needs to have. I'd like to begin with you, Deepa, since you have a lot of experience. Over the last 3 years, you've been working with freelancers. So could you tell me what makes a good freelancer in a generic way? I'm not talking about a freelance digital marketing specialist or a freelance coder, a general freelancer. What is it that would make them appeal to a recruiter or to your organization?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Pavitra. So, in fact, this is something which is close to our heart because we have worked on it and gained experience as we have worked on this. What makes the person who is working flexibly? Basically, it's like a right you earn, right? So you earn the right to work flexibly, and you are also responsible to deliver the results. So we have kind of understood that there are various components. One is the basic skill itself, the hard skill, which we will come to last. But there are three very important soft kind of skills which we have understood that are very important in this ecosystem. For example, the attitude to work independently, the drive that you absolutely want to work, because there's nobody is going to come around and check, and there's a lot of self accountability is very important, and commitment.
There's no
Right?
supervision. There's no direct.
Yes,
There's nobody checking at every half an hour, asking what you're
true.
doing, seeing what
Correct.
you're doing. Are you checking your mobile?
Yeah.
Are you going for a coffee break? That
Absolutely, and there is not that much of physical contact, because a lot of these roles also happen remotely. There is far lesser physical contact. Also, what we have uniquely developed is that there is a committed freelancer also possible. Right, so there is this tendency for people to say, oh, they are working on so many things, but there are certain attributes which we can see. So there is also commitment which is possible in this ecosystem to get the people who are really interested to work, not only to the job itself but also to the organization. So this is something very important and which will make them valued. Another very important thing is the work ethic, right? So how you work as a professional, so how you create your physical and mental boundaries to transition between your home life and your work life, because it's you set the rules, right? So it's important that you know how to toggle between these things. Then what we also tell our consultants before they start any engagement is how important communication is. So it is even more important than, say, somebody who goes to office and sees the boss regularly, right? Because you are the boss, and you will have, say, colleagues working with you or a boss whom you're reporting to. We talk a lot about proactive communication, not only in terms of work, in terms of setting deadlines, in terms of milestones, and also in terms of keeping your stakeholders aware of what is going on. So that proactive communication, if something doesn't go right, also that it shouldn't be that the person is asked, oh, you told me that you're going to submit this, what happened? So that shouldn't be, it shouldn't come to that point. We talk a lot about proactive communication and transparency is basically how the results are shown to the work stakeholders. It can be in the form of output based mechanisms or reports, or it can be in the form of effort, or say a log of what is the work that has been done. This is extremely important, especially for a person who is working flexibly, because we have to overcompensate. Somebody who is working flexibly has to overcompensate in a way. Then, since we specifically are in the realm of placing women, we also talk a lot about readiness, but this can equally apply to anybody who is wanting to freelance. Basically, do they have the preparation necessary to be a freelancer in terms of infrastructure, at hard and the soft infrastructure? And co-parenting is going to be the norm, and pandemic has kind of taught us that everyone has to co-parent. It's not only the woman's job. So basically, we will have to understand and work through all of these preparatory steps, and of course the skills, which I'm sure Mr. Santosh and Gopal can elaborate specifically vertical wise. So this is every freelancer, anybody working flexibly will have to understand their domain very well, their industry, their profession very well. They have to be up to date, because there's nobody going to tell you to go and do that course, right? So you have to be up to date about what is upcoming, what is the trend, and where you have some gaps, right? So you will need to go and enroll and network, and all of those things are some of the things that are uniquely important for a flexible working resource. So if anybody is more interested in, they can see some of these resources which are available with us in order to become a more attractive freelancer, basically.
Thank you for that, Deepa. Gopal, would you like to add anything to that? Anything specific that EY in particular looks for?
So, more than EVA, I would slightly broaden that. I think for someone to be a really effective freelancer, I think Deepa nailed it on everything that she just spoke about. But it's going to be a combination of skill set, the right mindset, and the heart set, right? So when I say skill set, they need to have the right skills to be able to do their roles well. It's not that I have this graduation or post graduation, or I have this certification. It's what is relevant for you to do that job well. Do you have that right skill? So continuous upskilling. There is a stat which says a freelancer on an average keeps, 65% of people who are freelancers keep upgrading every year, right? They upskill, they invest in themselves, they continue to do various certifications which are relevant for them. So it's like you getting your Android update every 6 months. You got to keep upgrading yourself as well. The mindset element is, it's a huge mindset shift. If you're starting off as a freelancer, I think it becomes easier for you to start at the right footing in terms of how you would want to uh, be ready and start operating as a freelancer. For people who have been on traditional jobs wanting to become a freelancer now, it's a huge transition. I think the element of someone supervising you versus someone supervising you virtually, or even otherwise, how do you take accountability for everything that you do? It's more about what you do when someone's not watching. I think that's a huge shift, mindset shift, that people need to bring in. And of course, the element of wanting to learn more, curious, being very up to date about what's happening, and how do you take charge about your own career. The hard set is, how obsessive are you about being a successful freelancer? You got to be really putting your heart and soul and mind into becoming an effective freelancer, and be one that differentiates himself or herself from others in the market, because that's going to be a competitive world very soon, and it's already one. And it's in a way, imagine yourself as in a for a moment as the Uber app, and think about booking a cab. You get 5-10 people. The more the supply that's available, the lesser the rates are. If you're in an area where there is not going to be enough drivers or riders offering you a ride, there will be a surge pricing. So if you are a person with phenomenal skills in a location that requires someone right now immediately, you're going to be high in demand, and that way you can determine your price. Again, going back slightly again on the mindset piece, it's a huge mindset shift again from, I have my stable income today. I get my salary every month at 30th or 31st, versus having to work towards getting that. And this month it could be 100, next month it could be 100,000, the following month it could be 10 lakhs or more. How do you maintain that balance to say that, okay, I have to live with this peaks and valleys to become an effective and a successful freelancer? So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Gopal. Both you and Deepa mentioned that you need to constantly learn, you need to skill yourself. So I would like to bring Santosh sir, if you could tell us what are the various ways that freelancers can hone their skills. Gopal mentioned that you have a certificate that says that you did your engineering or your BTech or whatever. But beyond that, the world is changing so fast. How do people keep their skills up to date?
Yeah, I think it's like the new generation professionals, freelancers also has to hone their skills on a regular basis. And I think Gopal put it very nicely that around 65% updates has to happen. So I wanted to just put it into a bit of a context at a high level. Obviously, you're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So there are obviously long-term skills program. I'm looking at it from a Kerala context. If I were to look at it from the training providers that are available, including ICT Academy, there are the regular long-term skill providers. I think that will definitely add value to even freelancers, because if you are looking at a very specific domain and if you want to work very deeper into that domain, long-term skills training programs, getting much deeper understanding of domains is going to be very significant. I think there are a lot of organizations that provide such opportunities. There are also self-paced learning options that are available for people like the Coursera's, MITs, and organizations like TCS. I understand that even EY has started something similar, which are available for you to learn like a typical freelancer. You can learn at your convenience and at your flexible options that are available with that. So that is another very, very significant opportunity. In fact, I would think that freelancers who has got that right mindset will probably opt for this because they also have the flexibility of working. So they use the other part of the flexibility for learning stuffs according to their convenience. There are also companies. In fact, you need to not just learn; you need to also apply, right? So there are companies which provide freelancing opportunities right from the bottom of the pyramid through to the high-end activities. So you may want to start small. You may want to start in a very low-level activity and then climb yourself up in the ladder. So there are companies like Fiverr, for example. It gives a lot of options for web designs. It's small and a few hour kind of a job to very complicated systems and things like that. So there are companies like Freelancers, Upwork, Fiverr, 99 Designs, and I mean, I'm sure Gopal and all will be able to add many more. There are at least around 50 odd companies in the world which provide opportunities for freelancers. Maybe you should start in one of these things, and like how you start as a professional, you need to also start as a freelancer, gain credits and credibility as a freelancer by working in these well-known freelance platforms, and then use that credits and credibility that you have gained for getting into much larger and long-term and also on a regular basis opportunities for yourself. So that would be my third suggestion for people who are opting for freelancing. And there is an interesting trend that is happening now is also people are getting opportunities as virtual internships. So if you are a graduate and you are really not in a position to learn anything or try out anything, apart from skills learning, you also have companies offering you virtual internship by sitting at your convenience of your home, especially in the technology areas. I think there are companies which offer the use cases that they are using so that the students can try it out and get the worldly experience that they have. So these are the four broad boundaries I would think as opportunities for freelancers to learn. A couple of additions I would think is another trending thing that I didn't add there is it's also about not just learning long-term skills. There are also skills that we call it as micro skills, right? So if you wanted to learn to work on, analysis. So one of the financial services firm, if they wanted to take you for analyzing some of their numbers, you need to know a little more about Excel, deeper understanding of macros, pivot tables, graphs, and things like that. So instead of going through the entire data analytics program, you just need to go into looking at learning something about deeper into the Excel skill, Excel operating skill, so that it becomes perhaps a 1 week or a 10-day program that you learn that and then you start applying it. So there is an increased requirement for freelancers to just focus on what they call it as micro skills, very specific to a job, learn that skill, apply that skill into that job, and then move on. So micro skilling platforms are also coming up fairly strongly. In fact, ICT Academy did try an experiment. We called it a program called Learn a Skill a Day, right? So we launched some 5 or 6 programs, and we are also getting some support from some of the corporates who are also coming on the platform to launch it. So in a day, you learn something. So how do you learn to create a website in a day? How do you learn to write a mobile app in a day or create a mobile app in a day? How do you operate Tableau or use data analytics tools or a visualization tool to make sense of data out of it in a day? So these are some of the experiments that are done by us, but there are much more professional organizations which have done this long ago. So micro-skilling is becoming another important area for people to look at it. One little point, it may be slightly different from this question, is to just add on to the previous point, is that I think, especially in Kerala, and for freelancers, one of the things that they need to know is not just technology skills and mindset and other things. One of the soft skills that I would like to add on, along with what other experts have said, is to have the ability to sell yourself even more rigidly or even more strongly. Why I say that is, if you are in a profession, you may need to sell yourself every time you change a job, but here it is like every day you are looking at new jobs. So you may need to add a lot of skill sets around selling yourself. That is on one side. The other important thing, which is especially in the Indian context, is the mindset of Indian parents or the mindset of Indian society is not yet matured enough to accept freelancers. We are still tied to the regular 9 to 5, 9 to 6 kind of job, and hence people will find it extremely difficult to accept the modalities and the concept of freelancing. So I think there is a level of learning and skills that individual freelancers have to fight it out. So you need to learn the art of selling yourself not just to the potential freelancer employer, but also to your own parents and your own friends and society at large.
Well said.
I agree with that, sir. And I also agree that it's the entire family that needs to buy into the concept of you being a freelancer and working. You know, they are very often the assumption is that okay, he doesn't have a boss to report to, so you know, if the plumber needs to come in or if the gas cylinder needs to be picked up, people are just called right, left, and center. There are demands made by the rest of the family.
Yeah.
So
In fact, just a very funny example. The other day, somebody was telling. I asked them, in your free time, what do you do? And then that gentleman was saying, I am part of a band, so I like to play band and I raise money for charity and things like that. Then I said, no, that is great. So where do you do that? He said, I mean, this was pre-COVID and all. So he said that we go to Bangalore, Chennai and things like that. And I said, why don't you do it here? He said, no, sir. If it is done in Kerala, people will think that it is like a Gana Mela in temples and things like that. But we are a band. The parents and the friends in my community doesn't accept the point of being a band versus a Gana Mela troupe, right? There is a lot of difference in that. So that's pretty much says it, actually.
right. Interesting. But now in times of COVID, the poor man can't even travel outside anymore.
That's true, but they have come out with the so-called virtual bans, so they're doing well.
Right. Okay. That brings me to the next point that I want to cover. What have been the
We lost Pavitra.
We lost Pavitra for a moment.
and then Deepa also for the
she's
community of small and medium industries and startups that you cater to. Over to you, Gopal.
Pavitra, we lost you. We lost you for a few seconds, so you may want to repeat the question.
Okay. So what I was asking is that what are the changes that you've seen in hiring in the recent past, in the last couple of 2 months in particular, across large corporates, in your organization itself or your peers?
Yeah, sure. So I think I mean, I partially answered that through my initial comments on what has happened in the last 60, 70 days. And I think it's pretty reflective of where we are as an industry. I mean, forget industry. I would say where we are as global economy today, predominantly driven by the demand and supply of resources, demand and supply of people. At the end of the day, so lockdown was a big challenge, which meant that we couldn't actually do a lot that we would have wanted to. So that pushed away some of the hiring that we could do during the last 75, 90 days. We continue to hire people even during, I mean, continue to do hiring conversations even during this time, given that we were all 100% virtual pretty much since 15th of March. But what the demand supply thing has resulted into is what could have been an assumption pre 23rd March when we went into lockdown, and when the world started realizing the impact of COVID, changed from there on to what it is today, which looks very different. And I think the conversations like should we do hybrid model, should we do a lot more freelancing, should we do a lot more gigs, and also is one of the most important conversation that a lot of people in the industry are having right now is are we compensating people the right money today? And I think this has resulted I mean, this has come into picture as a result of cash flow situations, right? For example, aviation, be it automobile, where they were deeply impacted by lockdown, were they able to continue to pay salaries, or would they ask people to take a pay cut? I think those have been in the forefront of conversations within a lot of corporates. Within EY, I think, as I said, we continue to do our bit, but the numbers look very different today. We are very cautious today in terms of how we would go forward. A lot depends on how our own clients would want to work with us, and I think this will result into newer models of hiring hybridly in the near future. Does that help? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think we lost Pavitra. but
Sure.
I think it's been very illuminating, the impact on large enterprises especially. So I think I can talk a little bit about what is happening in the startup space, because that is what we are most experienced in providing talent to. So in fact, I'll just share a very I just have one slide to share. Hmm. Yeah, I hope this is visible. So basically, like you mentioned, there is almost like a chasm pre-COVID and post-COVID. However, even pre-COVID, there has been a lot of demand for flexible working talent. The reasons primarily being that there's a perfect fit between what startups need in terms of the number of hours of working or the experience level that is needed for growth versus, say, hiring a fresher or an intern, as well as the flexibility that startups get when in trying to scale up or scale down quickly, right? And so they will have to experiment before they can find the right way to do things in any role, for example. And flexible talent has always been very helpful to serve those purposes. So post COVID, what we are seeing is that, of course, the whole world is undergoing this rapid pace of digitization. It is some studies say that in the 5 years is worth of digitization has happened in 3 months. So that is also getting reflected in the startup ecosystem. So businesses which were not entirely online had to go online really fast. So if they didn't have a component which could be easily transitioned to online, they had to pivot really quickly, right? So that trend we are seeing, and all of these also need qualified and what to say, experienced talent in order to pull off, right? The founder can't do everything. We are also seeing a surge in some sectors. So of course, the sectors where there is a lot of physical touch point because of the lockdown, there is a dip, but there is surge in all of these digitized spaces, like education technology, then anything which has gone from offline to online model. So say, for example, there are companies which were primarily in offline training, right? And now they, with pivots, they have moved to online formats. Offline workshops move to online formats. Offline events move to online formats. So there is a lot of change that is happening in the type and quality of hiring. And today, more than ever, cash is supremely important. So all kinds of measures in order to try and test out and then ramp up your hiring. That is what we are seeing as a key trend in terms of our experience. Has Pavitra been able to join back?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Should we should we pick some questions then? In the
Yeah,
meantime,
we can do that. We can do that. Yeah.
There's some Q&A. I'll
Yeah,
take.
can you please check that questions tab? There are some other questions we have.
Yeah.
I think the first
Questions.
question is for Gopal sir.
For the most large and small companies, is that one?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So for the most large and small companies, IP and confidentiality are important. How are those concerns be addressed to gig stream of work can go mainstream? So, I mean, I think we've heard this question a lot of times. I think this has been one of the most important um, elements when we talk about freelance workforce. So there are two types of freelancing that we within EY do, right? One, and mostly I think the ones that we have done is you come to our workplace, you get the work done, you will be issued a laptop, and you kind of get to do the work in the live client environment. And I think you deliver it, and I think it could be an engagement which would be worth 45 days, or it could be an engagement worth 6 months. And you're pretty much driven by the legal framework around non-disclosures, intellectual property sign-offs, non-client solicitation, etc., etc., etc. So there is a proper documentation that goes in. For the off-premise, which is the virtual working that we do, we offer you a virtual environment where you log into our framework and get the work done. Again, the same premise of 45 days or 6 months. and we continue to look at addressing the challenges of IP and all of that, similar to how we had been doing for the on-premise folks. However, as we mature as industry, and a lot of organizations like the names that Santosh sir mentioned around Upwork, Fiverr, are all platform-based economies, right? And when platforms work, I think they have already taken care of all of these elements through an extremely stringent legal framework in place. So if you go to an Upwork, or if you go to any of the platform-based sites like Fiverr, you have to go through a strict due diligence, which ensures and safeguards interests of both the freelancer as well as the employer, or the work giver, I would say. And I think that's what will continue to evolve. I think we are at a point of time where, interestingly, you mentioned, Santosh sir, you consider yourself to sell. I would say we all need to consider ourselves as products for a moment, right? And if we consider ourselves as products, the way we work, the way we sell, all will become very different. And as long as we are taking accountability for our own good, and ensure safeguarding our own interests, because if we fail here, imagine getting off an Uber cab and the guy asking you, give me a 5 rating, and you didn't have a great ride experience and you give a 2 rating. He gets dinged for the next couple of rides that he's going to be offering to people, because he may not get the right pricing, he may not get the right feedback. So if we move towards that kind of work environment, where it's going to be smaller chunks, smaller projects, and every project that you deliver would have a specific rating, which then defines whether you're going to be successful as a freelancer in the future or not. I think all of this will fall in place, and we'll do pretty well, because the legal framework already exists. We just need to apply and work through it.
Thank you, Gopal. I have a question now, or rather a concept that I want Mr. Santosh to cover. What are the changes in the tech world, and what are the changes that the Kerala government in particular is pushing to facilitate freelancing?
No, we
Santosh,
can't
sir?
hear you.
Now, am I audible? Okay.
Not yet, sir. We can't hear you. No. I think your Bluetooth would have turned off. No, we can't hear you. Can you say something, Santosh sir? Yeah, no, we still can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Okay, I'll get the next one. Deepa, could we have some specific experiences that you've come across in freelancing? Some examples of how a freelancer was a good fit for roles that you were looking for. Particular skills, that were hard to find, and a freelancer was able to fulfill that, and the organization or the startup was able to achieve what they wanted.
Sure. So we have a range of experiences. In fact, I would term it flexible working, because what we provide is not only freelance kind of skills, gig skills, but also regular kind of role, which can be done on a part-time kind of basis. So what comes to my mind immediately is startup is looking for PR, right? A PR strategy and implementation. However, they wanted it only for 3 or 4 months for launching something. So then we went and found a person who was actually on a break but had all of these skills, and then we did the recruitment. So we actually do a deep recruitment or selection for all our roles, and we place that person. So that was an extremely successful engagement. Then we also have instances of larger enterprises, like there's a very large enterprise in the FMCG space who needed a person in marketing role. So the flexibility provided again was on a part-time. She first initially joined on a part-time kind of basis and visiting when required the office, that kind of setup. But because of her commitment and her, of course, great competency, she quickly was absorbed, not absorbed, she's still working through us, but she was made into a full-time kind of hours. She was also able to give that hours. So her scope also increased, work responsibility also increased, and of course, pay and everything. So we have a lot of flexibility in once a person joins, depending on how they do, to expand or reduce depending on the business need. So we also have examples of people we take in-house. In fact, we are a fully remote organization, and all of our people are women who have been professionals and have a career break and have returned back to their same roles via us. So our lead recruiter, in fact, so she joined as a recruiter. We recruited her, and she has grown to manage a team of recruiters. So it's also a career progression also is possible in the space. Similarly, many people we have placed with clients where their projects have gotten over for whatever reason, we have absorbed them into our own teams as well. So there is a so that there is basically a large number of use cases, whether there is a hiring freeze because of which companies can't take talent on roles, or a specific project which has a certain due date, or the work itself has to be performed for a shorter number of hours. So we keep giving accountants like that as well, marketing people, digital marketers. So there's different types of use cases which fit this particular type of talent hiring.
Okay.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're audible now.
Okay, sorry.
So the question we had for you, sir, was what is it that, what are the changes happening in the tech world, and in specific, what are the changes the Kerala government is bringing about to foster freelancing and enhance opportunities for freelancers?
Okay, I think in the tech world, we already have started seeing. I think everything is moving digital, right? Right from classrooms to banks to movies to most of the things are people are becoming more innovative to move everything online. So and making it digital. So that's the biggest revolution that is happening. In fact, I have one little slide. If I can just project that, just a second. You're able to see? You're able to see that?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So just an example, yesterday was the school opening for Kerala. Around 30 lakh students from class 1 to class 10 logged online. And for a lot of people, the connectivity and laptops were not there. Kerala had a very innovative model where they had created an exclusive education channel called Victors. And right from first standard to 10th standard, classes are happening through the channel, through the YouTube video live streaming, through to interactive platforms. So they are using 3 or 4 platforms through which it is reaching out to students. So that's the kind of change that is happening from a technology perspective. And in order to accelerate that, Kerala has come out with something very, very ambitious called a Kerala Fiber Optic Network, which is going to give high quality, endpoints, internet endpoints to almost all the households. And that is going to be rolled out by December this year. So that makes the digital divide go away, and every household will have internet connection and high bandwidth connectivity out there. And they are also rolling out schemes for economically poor people, socially backward people, and things like that. So that the whole digital divide concept that is existing elsewhere in the world is going to go away from at least our soil. There is also, you might have had this announcement coming in around 6 months ago. We announced our own device making unit in Trivandrum under the brand of Coconic. So think about this. You have connectivity coming in by December. You have Coconics producing devices such as laptops and tablets, which is going to make the endpoint visible for each others. And it is also going to drive a hell of a lot of e-commerce activities within the local communities. So COVID has again thrown out something called hyper-local services. For example, the Kirana stores of our ward, there has been providers who connect only these Kirana stores in our wards and get the goods and services delivered to the apartments or to the flats nearby. So the e-commerce through K-phone and these kind of devices that are manufactured locally is going to go crazy, is what we believe. And on the skilling side, KDIS is an interesting organization under the Kerala government. Kerala Development Innovation and Strategic Council is its full form, is run under the direct ownership of the Chief Minister's office. It is offering 100% scholarship for women, and it is actually all the fourth generation or fourth industrial revolution technology skills are getting rolled out, and ICT Academy is the kind of facilitator for that program. So, from a skill enhancement perspective, government is pushing really hard, and especially to women. We call it as Career 2.0, right? So, we wanted to promote that in a big scale. So, that is another scheme government is running, and in fact, Kerala Startup Mission, and of course, Pavitra, you are leading the flag of running a freelancing based opportunity landscape for Kerala between Startup Mission and EY, right? So that's another very, very interesting activity that we are doing. So there are a few things that are run as isolation, but when it converges. So if I were to summarize it, digitalization has been accelerated thanks to the current scenario. In order to push more digitalization, we are building the backbone. We are building the end devices locally made available. We are building skills that are required for it. And we are also building models so that freelancing can flourish. So I think in the next 12 to 14 months, if these projects run in full steam, Kerala would have kind of led the way for the next generation job kind of opportunities called the gig economy.
Great, so very encouraging to hear that. And yes, KSUM is also doing a lot to facilitate freelancers, particularly women. I'd like to bring in Gopal now. Gopal, EY has been doing this for a fairly long time with the Gig Now platform. Could you share more about that with us and our audience?
Sure, I can. I'm just going to share one slide. I'm going to try my bit. Application. And let me know when you are able to see the screen.
We can see the screen now, Gopal.
Perfect. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've been doing Gig Now for last almost 3 years globally, and about a year and a half within the EY India and the EY GDS construct, where I think we've been doing quite a bit of roles through the Gig Now route, which means that there are a lot of talented people through the platform, which is gignow.com, apply for roles that are available, or make themselves available for roles that may come even in the future, right? These could be roles within our tax, assurance, advisory, and transaction advisory services, or even the corporate functions like HR, finance, technology, and so on. We are always on the lookout for highly skilled professionals. If you consider who is a highly skilled professional, it could be someone who is proficient in a particular skill. So skill could be, let's say, SAP, it could be data analytics, it could be AI and ML, or it could be HR. Within HR, recruitment as a skill. Within recruitment, it could be potentially specifics around sourcing as a skill. And it could be within the finance, it could be accounting as a skill, or it could be further down into billing as a further sub skill, and so on. So we are always on the lookout of talented people who fit in to any of the roles that could be made available at ranging from staff even up to senior manager level. We have had people join us in the last year, 18 months almost, on various roles at staff level, senior level, manager level, senior manager level, and people have really found this opportunity to be very rewarding. And the reason for that being, we don't differentiate. I think when you join us on the Gig Now program, you are as similar to that of anyone being an FTE. You get access to the world-class opportunities. You work on the live client projects or live deliverables. You work on, even if you're an intern, or if you come for a campus pre-placement internship, you're working on a live client deliverable. You get compensated very similar to that of an FTE. You get same amount of benefits, as defined within the broader government framework. And you choose, I think, at the end of the day, I mean, given the COVID situation, pretty much everybody is working from home. We'll continue to operate in that model, but we are also evolving a model which is very similar to what Deepa was sharing around flexibly working from anywhere. I think we'll make announcements accordingly when that is made available. But I mean, even now, I think we are operating in that mode already. And I think it will continue to provide opportunities. And as we adopt gig a lot more within the organization, I mean, we will always continue to look out for people who could have the right skills. So if you're an engineer, if you're a commerce graduate, arts graduate, if you are a working professional already, if you're someone who's wanting to return back to work, I would encourage you all to register on gignow.com. It's very simple. As long as you have, you can register through your email ID or through your LinkedIn profile. And I think at the end of the day, if there is I mean, you start getting alerts based on your skills that you put on your CV of what roles are open, and you can start applying to them right away. And when there is an opportunity that suits your profile and your candidature, we'll definitely be in touch with you. My entire team that supports me today on this program is on gig. So they're all working on gig, and are doing phenomenally well for themselves.
Okay. Thank you for that, Gopal. We've quite overshot our time. So we'll start with a couple of questions. First question to you, Deepa. How can women looking to re-enter the workforce after a career break prepare for freelancing, especially when looking for work in a new field not related to her earlier work experience? Can certifications make up for work experience? No specifics given about the work experience, but could you address that, please?
Sure. So we get asked these kind of questions a lot because we are in the space of returnship. What we say is that we have actually evolved a structured program which is available on our blogs, on our FlexiVisa website. We are also on the Shiro's community. There is a community called FlexiVis within Shiro's, where we run a series of blogs and educational material actually on how to get ready for returnship, because it is a journey and it is not easy, right? Because I myself, I've come from that experience as having undergone that journey. So we have developed a multi-step approach where something called iRise, where first we ask people to introspect and understand what their skill sets are, where their interest lies, and then research, see where the world is going, where their skill fits, and identify the gaps, where what is the gap that they want to plug in, and also interact and build your networks with your either past colleagues or industry professionals. There are ways to do that, and finally do the skilling that is required, right? So we do encounter, and this skilling will definitely change from domain to domain. So what is applicable for marketing will be very different from what will be applicable for a HR. But definitely the world has changed in every domain. So without exception almost, we will need to be prepared for some kind of preparation, some kind of readiness, some kind of skilling up. This also boosts our confidence as we get back, because the more we study, the more we gain knowledge, the more we speak to people, we also get back our confidence. We remember the things that we used to do before, right? So we are and that helps us approach things with an equal footing. There are cases where women particularly want to change their line. Either they are bored or it doesn't suit them anymore, whatever be the case. For example, there are many finance professionals who are registered with us who have consciously changed their line into content writing in the finance field, right? So whatever be the reason. again, it is a process, it is a journey. If you are keen, it can be done, but again, you will need to approach it in a structured manner. First, you will need to explore and get those skills first of all in place. And when you are learning something, it is very hard to get paid for it at the same time. So maybe that expectation we have to release a bit as we explore our skills. For example, in content writing, what are the themes that you like to write about? What are the kinds of formats you like to write about? And initially, it is best to accept work for the purpose of experience. So, either from family members or from past bosses, co workers, so that you get into the rhythm of working and also gain experience and learn. Right, and then you would have built a portfolio of work to show clients who will finally start paying. Right, so that is the positive cycle. It is in general, it is hard to expect a paid assignment, especially when you are changing your career track right at the beginning, but it can be done.
Thank you for that, Deepa. There's a slightly offbeat question now. I'm not sure whether you'd be able to answer this. What are the options or platforms for those wanting to be voiceover dubbing professionals? Has FlexiBees been approach for these kind of assignments, Deepa? Would you have?
I'm afraid I'm not aware of these roles. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
What I can suggest to the person who asked this question is that typically Upwork and Fiverr and TopTal, these are the platforms where the different kind of skills are asked for. So you could try registering there and checking for these gigs. Next question.
Pavitra, actually, can I add on a point relating
Go ahead. Go ahead.
relating to returnship? Is as a person will be applying to various places, right? It is also important that they have in their consideration set. Sorry, just can you see the slide?
Yes. Yes.
Just a little guidance on after preparing, after doing whatever homework that needs to be done. So it's important that we check out what is the reputation of the company that is offering the role, and then will your role match that experience? Because otherwise, again, the confidence can get a little bit hit, right, when you apply for something and there is not a match. It is also important to understand how much are you going to get paid, and when and how, and what kind of career progression, what kind of troubleshooting you can expect from that ecosystem wherever you are applying. So all these will be important for any returning professional. And like I said, FlexiBees offers roles across the management spectrum: sales, marketing, digital marketing, finance, technology, content writing, graphic design, learning content, teaching, tutoring. So again, whoever is interested can check us out, try and understand what are the kinds of things we do, and register in the job seeker section. So there is in our website, there is a section for applicants where they have to upload their resume and enter their skill sets in detail. So that is from where the match starts happening. So that section is very important. And of course, if anybody has any more very specific questions, you can email me, and whenever I am able to, I can respond back.
Right. Thank you, Deepa. We have one more question asking about portals for online trainings to better enhance skill on technology. Like it was mentioned earlier, Mr. Santosh Kurup had covered this. Other than ICT within Kerala, you also have the Apsara, the Coursera, the Upgrad, and various other platforms which offer short-term courses, certified courses. Certifications are also offered. So you could, in fact, just go on Google and check. There are many of available. You could also check, reputed universities like Harvard also offer courses these days. So check what suits you best and what is the skill that you're looking for, and go ahead.
In fact, Pavitra, if I may add, because of COVID, a lot of universities, as you rightly said, including London School of Business, MIT, Harvard, they are all opening up their courses free for 3 months and so. So I think this is a great opportunity for learners to get trained under Harvard University or MIT and things like that. So they just need to
Absolutely.
go and look at these options.
Right. So, Sri Reshmi's question, I hope that answers your question. We are almost out of time. So, I will wrap up now. Thank you so much, Santosh sir, for joining us. It's been very informative, especially the advances and the changes that the Kerala government is pushing. Gopal, thank you also very much for joining us. And we work, EY and in Kerala has a significant presence. There's a lot of work that's happening with Kerala Startup Mission and with ICT Academy. Deepa, thank you for joining us all the way from Singapore. Very informative on what FlexiBees is doing, especially to bring women back to the workforce. We hope this has helped the audience form a better, get a better idea of what freelancing, what being a gig worker is all about. And I hope it equips them better to deal with the situations that COVID and Corona has brought about. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been great.